2 minutes. It's the wire. Yeah, okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. I think this was a post-iftar salawat, so, you know, with a heavy stomach, lots of curry. Even the microphone is tired. I don't mind using the handheld if it's better. Do you want me to use the handheld? Okay.
Dr. Hilli, can you just project?
No. Okay. Bismillah. Okay, so it's important that we warm this center and this place, inshallah, with 3 very loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أحسنتم بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Just before we begin, just as a disclaimer, there will be scenarios today that are not suitable for children because we're trying to tackle really important issues. So if we can have the children to leave this place, that will be great, inshallah. So 16 plus as a strict age condition. 3 perhaps and lower, it's fine. But still at the discretion of the parents. Okay. Okay. So, thank you for coming today. May Allah bless you. I know it's a difficult time, maybe at night you like to go and relax after the iftar. But today we're going to talk about something really important, which is parenting and lots of the challenges that we face in our communities. And the way we're going to do this, inshallah, my dear brothers and sisters, is we're going to go through some scenarios. And these scenarios, I'm going to let you to think about them, discuss them, and then inshallah we're going to pick up on these particular scenarios. So the first question I want to ask you all is, why are you here? You could have, after you finished your iftar, lovely meal, could have gone home, relax, you know, tomorrow is a Saturday, just maybe take a short nap. But why come to a parenting course? What's the point? By the way, this is a workshop. And inshallah, you know how workshops work. Yes? It's supposed to be a dialogue, not a monologue. So I want to hear opinions. So why are you guys here? Yes. You have children, mashallah. May Allah bless you. But what's the main reason? Why are you here? What are you trying to get out of here? At the end of today, yes. To become a better parent. But how would you define a better parent? For you, what is a better parent?
Better parent is somebody who can instill good Islamic values living in the West in their kids.
Very nice, very nice. Do you all agree with the sister? Yes, install a good Islamic values living in the West. And there's lots of challenges, right? Lots of challenges that our children are going through that perhaps we didn't go through when we were young. When we were young, there was no social media. Yes? When we were young, there was no LGBT. When we were young, there was no transgender stuff, right? When we were young, the sort of relationships, yes, between both genders, etc., was different. When we were young, there wasn't much talk about Islam and Islamophobia and all these things. And when we were young, maybe there wasn't this rise in drugs and you know, hanging around and doing things that now we are facing, and we're facing our children are facing this. Maybe when we were young, we didn't question so much like how now they question. Now they question at a very young age, you know, where is God? I don't feel God within me. What's the point of Islam? Who is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, etc. So there's lots of questions. Are we equipped as parents to answer these questions? Are we supposed to answer these questions? What are we supposed to do? Because parenting, my dear brothers and sisters, there is no manual for parenting, is there? There's no manual. So when the mothers, they give birth, no, the hospital don't give you a manual. They say, here you go, this is the manual for you to go through. The first thing you do is you do this. No, it's just like, go and sort yourself out, okay? So I think it's very important we talk about these things. And let me just lower the expectation, okay? So I don't want you to expect something dramatic at the end of this, that you'll be an amazing parent after all this. But what's very important, and if you're going to take anything out of today, is that we need to start talking about these particular issues and challenges. By you coming today and sitting down, okay? And that's why I am here. Why am I here? Yes, that's the next question. Why am I here? I am here to start a conversation about these very important challenges that you as parents will go through in raising your children and upbringing your children, okay? And by starting these conversations, maybe it will start next time, you'll have another session where you start talking about more issues, the challenges facing your children, okay? So it's very important that we talk about these particular issues. Now, just before, again, we go into these things, I want to see a raise of hands. Who have children under the age of 10? Okay, so majority. Who has children above the age of 10? Okay, so lower. Who has teenager children? Yeah, and I can see that raise of hand was a lot of frustration with it as well. It's just like, who has teenager? I do. I wish I didn't, but I do. Please save me from teenagers. Yeah. So I have a nearly a 16-year-old. Okay. So I'm a teenager as well. And I have an 11-year-old, nearly 12, and I have a 7-year-old. So I sort of have a representation of all different age groups. And I can see the frustration perhaps of those of you who have teenagers. And we'll talk a lot about teenagers. So this particular parenting is, a lot of it is about those kids that are approaching bulugh and those who have gone beyond bulugh. And those of you who have children younger, then it's good for you to prepare for bulugh days. Okay. Again, one of the main things that you should take out of this, okay, is that when you go into bulugh, and a lot of people, what I'm about to say, a lot of people feel shocked when they hear this. But you know, when they go through bulugh, okay, they become a completely different individual. So when they become a completely different individual, your parenting style has to completely change. So when they were children, 10 years old, 9 years old, you tell them to go to sleep. And I don't want to go to sleep. No, you have to go to sleep. No, but I don't want to go to sleep. No, sleeping is important. You have to go to sleep. Come now. And you take their hand and drag them, and they go, and you drag them to the bedroom, and you say, no, sleep now. Okay, read the story, go to sleep. Yes? When they become baligh, that doesn't work anymore. So you, as the parent, you have to consciously change your strategy. For those of you who have baligh children or above, have you consciously, not subconsciously, but consciously changed your parenting strategy? Yeah? So you come and say, look, I am now going to change my strategy. How am I going to talk to my children? It has to change. I can't tell them what to do anymore. I can't force them to do things anymore. Okay? Because they're biologically being changed. They're changing. And their mentality changes. So you know what happens to teenagers, their brains. So there's something called the prefrontal cortex. You know about it? It's right on the front here. And this part is the part where it does the reasoning. Okay? Decision making. It all happens right here in the prefrontal cortex. In teenagers, prefrontal cortex is under construction. Did you know this? It's still under construction. So if it's a building, they're still building it. So what happens when the teenagers, they want to go and touch on that decision making, that prefrontal cortex is still under construction, so they can't go into it. They go to another area called the amygdala. What's amygdala? What is it responsible for? What? Emotions, yeah. That's why you see teenagers quite grumpy, quite, they go through all different emotions and things, because their prefrontal cortex right here is under construction. Only when they reach the age of 20, then the prefrontal cortex will be complete. Yeah? So we have to understand this as parents, because I don't expect him or her to reason. Yeah, there are a lot of things that sometimes they don't reason. So I have to understand what's going on in their psyche, what's going on in their brain. Their brain is developing at a different pace, right, than us. And so the prefrontal cortex is different. And I have to change my parenting strategy to accommodate that, because I know that my child was going to be emotional. All of you who have a teenager, you know that they become emotional more quicker than they used to do before, right? And they reply in a different way, right? And they become angry, and angrier rather. Okay? So it's important that you, the parent, have to consciously, not subconsciously, but consciously change your parenting strategy when they become, or even before they become baligh. Okay? You can't continue with your own similar strategy. And that's the problem that we face. There's a clash between parents and teenagers. It's because we think they're still children. We still think they are 8, 9 years old. So the way we deal with them, the way we talk to them is like we get emotional, we get angry, we speak to them as how they were 8-year-old, but they've changed. But we haven't changed. They have to change. Allah has changed them. This is biology. Okay? Allah has changed them. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we are still the same. Even until they reach 18, we use the same strategy. They're my children. And one other point, my dear brothers and sisters, and this is really important that you also realize. I'm just saying all the points so that if anyone wants to go to sleep, you're very happy for you to go to sleep. There's some tea there. I won't get offended if Brother Farouk, you want to make some tea for everyone, inshallah. At least I didn't get any tea, but it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's almost ready. Okay. So, your children, my dear brothers and sisters, your children are not yours. Did you know this? You do not own your children. Who owns your children? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns your children. And so it's important that we focus on this and contemplate on this, because we try so hard and we get so upset. And if this doesn't happen, I get angry and things like that. We can only do our best. Okay? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not expect you to do more than He has given you. So you try your best and then leave everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to have that faith inside you. You have to always remember that Allah is watching you. And you do tawakkul ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's important that you do the right strategy, you use the right language when you speak to them, when you try to do this tarbiyah. But there is only so much you can do. And everything else, you leave it to Allah, because He owns them. You don't own the children. Okay? Is that enough? Is that okay? Any questions before we start? We haven't even started. No questions? Anyone wants to go home? You're very free, but I hope you stay. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Isn't that a bit hot? مو شوي حارة? Yeah. Turn on, yes, please, turn on. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you 5, I think, different scenarios. Okay? These are all very important scenarios. And what we're going to do is every scenario, I'm going to give you around a minute, minute and a half to think about it. Usually, I have like groups and stuff like that. It's like nearly a whole day thing, this workshop. But because of time restrictions, I'm not going to do groups. But I want you to think about, maybe if you want to speak to the person beside you, think about this particular scenario, and then we'll go through the scenario. And remember, it's a discussion. There is no right and wrong answer in these scenarios. Okay, let me just tell you this at the start. There's no right and wrong answer. So don't think, oh, this could be wrong. Okay, there's no right and wrong. But let us discuss these scenarios, because they are quite serious scenarios. Okay, so the first scenario is called the crisis of faith. Okay, so someone called Suhail is your 14-year-old son who has just gone through bulugh. You have been teaching him salah since he was 8 years old. Sunday madrasa has also taught him. Now that he is baligh, it's wajib for him to pray. In the last year, you have noticed that Suhail has been lazy when it comes to prayer. He doesn't prioritize prayer, and when asked if he's prayed, he always says yes. A few days ago, you were told by his older brother that Suhail does not pray, and when asked by you or by your husband, he lies about praying. What would be your reaction? How would you deal with this situation? Is that understood? Yes? What would you do once you find out that Suhail isn't praying? He's told you he is, but he's not doing his salah. What would be your reaction towards this, and how would you deal with this situation? I'm going to give you like a minute. Think about it. Be very realistic. Don't give me theoretical answers. Be angry, yeah, that's a good... Ya Allah, we've started very good way. Yeah. Yeah, everything starts with anger and ends with anger. Okay, minute is up. Let's try to. By the way, how long do we have here? 4 hours? 4 hours until suhoor. That's too much. I'm sorry, I'll get very tired. Maybe just before suhoor, inshallah. We'll finish. Okay. Right, tell me, speak to me. What would be your reaction? That's the first thing. Suhail, you found out, yes.
I believe in raising kids with love and logic.
Okay.
The logic of someone, my kid is lying to me, is related to the trust that we have between me and him. And I would talk to him about, if I'm not able to trust you, and then someday you need to be able to trust me, then how would you know, so there's a trust, that is not.
You can't hear? Okay. Get another mic. Are you okay with role plays? You don't have any option, sorry. So I'm going to be Suhail. I'm going to be Suhail. And you've just found out that I don't pray. Yeah, I'm Suhail, 14-year-old. I know I don't look like one. I might look like one. But you just found out. Remember the question, yeah? Just focus on the question, yeah? And you've just called me. You said, Suhail, come down, because I'm upstairs. You said, Suhail, come down.
Sure.
Yeah, we just passed.
Okay.
What is it, Dad? I'm really busy. What is it?
No, I just found out that you haven't been praying, and I found out that you are lying about you not being
What are you talking about? I'm not. I've always prayed. Who told you I'm lying?
Well, your brother told me you're lying.
He told you I'm lying. I'm gonna kill that guy. That's not right. You know he's lying because you know me. I always pray. Come on. You can see the musalla upstairs. I've got everything upstairs. I pray. Really, you question my ability to pray?
It's not the matter of you lying to me or your brother or your family. It's about your obligation towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I'm not watching, your mother is not watching, your brother is not watching, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. So
You just accused me of lying.
well,
You said that I'm lying.
no.
How can you do that and you know that I'm not lying?
Change the strategy.
Okay. Well. Okay, I apologize about.
Go on, make me some tea.
For calling you.
Okay, thank you. So how was that? How was that? Did he do the right thing? No. What do you think? What do you think? What would you have done? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine.
Dr. Hilli, he does that a lot.
Sorry, one second. Just the sister, and then I'll come to you. Yeah.
I will tell him, I just realized that you didn't pray. If he said, this is not right, I didn't lie. I told him, I believe on you. But you have to know your obligation. You're now baligh, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you.
But
we all make mistakes.
Would you confront him and say, if I'm Suhail, will you tell me that I recognize that you're not praying?
Yeah.
You will say that?
I will say.
Okay. And I will say, no, I am praying. But then will you dispute me and you say, no, you're lying? Would you accuse me of lying? You will?
No, I just clear the
بالعربي مو مشكلة. ايه I'll translate.
اوكي بوضح له الفكره اكثر.
إيه.
بقول له انه انا مصدقتك. وبشرح له انه بهذا العمر كيف مثلا الدماغ عم يتطور، كيف انت عم تكبر، كلنا بنتعرض للمشاكل ويصيبنا هيك قصص. يعني بتصير مثل حوار بيني وبينه حتى يتطور اكثر. مثلا انا كنت بعمرك كان هيك يصير معي، ماما كنت هيك تحكي معي، بابا كان هيك يحكي معي، وانا صراحه هيك بعمل مع اولادي، وكلنا يعني بيصير معنا هيك مشاكل وعادي هالشيء. وبحكي عن الواجبات وانه هلا هو عم يكبر والله سبحانه وتعالى امرنا بهيك، يعني بنحكي عن منافع الصلاة والله أمرنا فيها.
Yeah, so barakallah fikum. So she says that, she'll have a dialogue with her child. She won't really accuse him of things. And she says, look, when I was younger, I was going through difficult times, bringing herself into this, having a personal experience and saying that when I used to do this, so it's not just foreigners, you're not the only one, but trying to diffuse the situation. So not attacking, right? Not attacking. And that is golden, right? Do not attack, because anyone who attacks, they put a defensive. So if I was to attack someone here, they quickly put a shield and start to defend themselves. Okay? So attacking is so exactly. So not to talk when they're angry. Actually take maybe the next day. Okay, and things like that. Ahsantum, barakallah. Yes.
So I would not confront him right away. I will make sure that he prays next to me, or whenever the azan time is like, okay, let's go, it's time to pray. And then I constantly behind him okay, are you praying it? Maybe we'll pray together, or maybe we'll make it a family thing. So that way he has no choice. But instead of just telling him, hey, you have no choice or you have to do it, it's like we will make it a family thing and we feel like we're all doing it together.
So would you but the question here says that you've just realized that he doesn't pray because his brother told you that he doesn't pray, and you've noticed. You're okay with that? You're not going to call him, Suhail, come, let's talk to you.
No.
You're not going to call him?
Because
I think she's upset of Suhail.
the mic.
Okay, any of the brothers? Yes.
1 second.
Don't upset him.
Assalamu alaikum. So I guess I would confront him, but not in a directly attacking him, but in a way where, listen, I heard rumors that some people in this house are not praying, right? We are.
Wait a second.
Wait, let's go ahead.
So I'm not going to pull the chair up. You saying that you say I've heard rumors.
Yes. I heard.
From who?
The bird told me. Does the bird still work in this generation, or is that gone?
No, man, the birds have gone now.
So basically, but you're.
Well, you can't confront him and say rumors, because if I was to come and tell you now, I've heard rumors that you're not praying, wouldn't you get annoyed?
So I guess, if you've been living with this kid for 14 years, you can tell when they're lying. Anyways, I'm your father. I can tell you're lying.
The problem with this strategy, and I appreciate that. I told you there's no right and wrong here. Okay, so anyone, and you, brother, that could be your strategy and it could be right. So we're not saying right or wrong here, but we're having a discussion. Okay, but the problem that what happens is that if you start attacking, and you say, well, I heard rumors that you are not doing this and you are not that, then they'll put a defensive, and they'll say like what I did, Suhail, in my role play, and I said I am praying, because that's the whole point. I am lying.
So I say, okay, it's no problem. I believe you.
But what's the point of attacking if I'm gonna lie anyway? So I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, Dad, it's true, I'm not praying. I'm not gonna say that. So what is the point of saying there are rumors? I heard your brother. Sorry about telling about your brother. That's because he's
told them right away.
That's not really credible evidence, is it? That his brother has told you, because surely he has some beef with his brother. So, not chicken. Yes, go on.
Sorry. Let me say, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm going to put it to 3 steps. First step is there's no confrontation. I'm just going to give him extra knowledge indirectly. You know what I mean? I'm just going to, like, you know,
You've just discovered
yeah.
he is. What would you do? You've just discovered right now. What would you do?
So I'm just going to talk.
You're going to call him?
Yeah, I'm going to, well, no, not away. I'm not going to call him to come to talk about this issue.
Oh, okay, so walk me through, what would you do? You've just found out. Because this is important. The reason why I say this is because as parents, when we just find out something about our kids, our temper starts to
So I'm
increase.
not going to do that.
Okay, so what would you do?
The thing is, if I'm just going to react, then it's going to be reaction and
sure. So what are you going to do?
As well. So I'm just going to knowledge, my first step, and I'm going to explain that in a little bit. And then second step.
Sorry, what's the knowledge?
Oh, I'm going to give him knowledge about prayers.
So no, but just walk me through what you're going to do. So you've just found out that he doesn't pray.
I just said knowledge, and then I'm going to give him rewards towards, if you know, future, if he starts praying.
Okay.
And then forgot the third one, but anyways.
Sorry,
so when it comes to knowledge, I would say I will explain to him what prayers does. You know, I'll give him examples. You know, of you know. But the thing is, I'm not going to just specify it for prayers. I'm gonna, like, you know, kind of make it a little bit general and then narrow it down to prayers. Because if I just talk about prayers and be like, oh, he's gonna be like, how do you know I'm not praying? And then I have to tell him, well, you know, like your brothers. So this is not the right direction to take. So instead, educate him a little bit more and then educate his faith as well. And then I see what kind of problems he has. Like, you know, I have to figure out why he's not praying. There's reasons for people not praying. It could be like school time. It could be like laziness. It could be like faith issue that he doesn't believe in prayer. So I have to know the root, the cause of.
But you're talking a lot about what would you. And that's very good.
Yeah.
But I'm concerned about the moment, because the moment is the one that creates a lot of problems. When you react to certain things and when you make accusations and you say, well, you know, you've not tackled the issue of that he's lying. He is actually lying. And how would you start talking about the whole thing, but you know that he's going to continuously...
The thing is, you cannot, like, answer it right away. You know, I cannot call him and be like,
But that's why I wanted you to walk through the strategy. Because if I am now Suhail, what would you do? You say knowledge, but what does that mean?
So can I give my strategy or no?
Yeah, go on.
All right. So I guess the scenario depends more of, you know, is he, you know, only 2 siblings? Do they have a lot of children? Many of them teenagers, few are teenagers, you know.
Why does that matter? Okay, say he has one. He has his brother, and that's it.
So if there's one tattletale and one guilty individual, you can't put them together and talk to them because it's very obvious, you know, who's who. But if there's more than one, let's say, or regardless, let's just stick with these 2. First of all, my disappointment will not be that he's not praying, but it will be because he's lying to me. That's the big issue that I have with him.
But how do you know he's lying?
Or potentially lying to me. Right?
Okay, so how would you confront him?
So the way that I would confront him is, listen, whether there's rumors that I heard or people are saying that some of, you know, the household members are not praying, or whether there's someone saying that you're not praying, or I feel like you're not praying, whatever method it may be. But the gist of it is that, listen, if that is true, you know, you have the right to not pray. And we can discuss that. We can have our discussion.
You're going to tell me you have the right.
But we need to be honest with each other.
Sorry, 1 second. You say we have the right not to pray.
Yes, of course. The prayer is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, right? Like that's what we believe. No one can force me to pray. My parents couldn't force me to pray. So how would I force my children to pray?
There
14?
needs to be, yeah, that's problematic.
Because I think
you can't
your
say,
children's at this stage by 14, it's already problematic.
One second. We're either parents that we want our children to be, you know, good mu'mineen, okay? Or we're just going to tell them things and let them choose. No, there has to be some guidance. We are not people who are, you know, they are dependent on us. So we've got to teach them, but teach them in the best possible way. See, there's a difference here between what our fathers used to do, because that time it was that way. And now what the strategy changes, but the message is the same. I've got to raise my child in the way that, because he's clueless, he doesn't know, but it's the strategy, how I make him pray that is important. But I don't come and tell him, look, LGBT, it's fine, it's up to you, you can believe in it or not. Or prayers, it's up to you, you can believe in it or not. That's the wrong information you're providing. But the information you should do is, they say, salah is wajib. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a mu'min, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's wajib. Why is it wajib? And then you start to explain to him why is it wajib. All right? And then give him that opportunity. But tell him it's up to you to pray or not. That's a very dangerous strategy.
So the last part of the strategy would be that either you have an honest discussion with me, we can discuss, or until you're ready to act your age and your responsibility to make your own decisions and talk to me about it. Until then, we have a family prayer every day for all the salahs, whether if I'm home or not or whatever. That's the last one. So either you speak to me about it, because otherwise, if the children does not want to have that discussion, it's going to go.
Yeah, but it's about taking the right steps to bring them in, but not give them false information. And I think it's very dangerous. You give them false information to tell them, no, it's up to you to pray, it's up to you to believe in this. That is for me is sort of misguidance. But that could be the right thing for you. And again, as I said, there's no right and wrong. What we're giving is just tips and strategies. But that could be all right. Yes, I need to move on to the next scenario. But the brother there was before you. Was it you before him? Okay.
So we had a chance to listen, and we were discussing here. I think the problem in this case is potentially an issue of trust. The first thing is we need to verify, is he lying or not? I obviously haven't seen, is he, his brother could be lying, right, like you said. So my approach in this scenario would be to give it some runway, right? Just have a conversation. Hey, how are your prayers going? How do you feel after you pray? Anything you want to share, any prayers that you're looking forward to, any du'as that you're doing, anything I can help you with. Just kind of have an engaging conversation, and maybe say, hey, how about we do Maghrib together tomorrow, or something like that. Because to diagnose the scenario a little bit, if he's lying, there is some trust that is not there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So either I haven't established that trust.
There is an underlying problem.
Yeah.
There's a root. There's something in the root that's rotten.
So exactly. So. And obviously I have to look inwards first, right? What have I created the environment for him? Have I led by example? If I haven't done that, I think then that's unfair for me to even expect him to pray. So that it starts with me first, and then continue to build that bond, and then see how it goes forward.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much. Just finally, the brother, although we didn't hear much from the sisters.
If the sisters are...
Any one of the sisters? Just, and then we'll get back to you, and then inshallah we'll move on.
So I won't take much time.
No
So it's just like, when he's saying that I'm not lying, how do you know about that? So the very first thing we should talk that kind of team with proof. So I'll use the technology. I'll record the whole day, and then we'll come up with that.
You will do what, sorry?
The recording for the whole day in my house, and we'll ask him if he prayed.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
I'll make the recording.
What?
Video recording.
You record him?
Video recording.
يعني like a spy?
No, not spying.
شنو
Just
CIA?
I have to come up with the proof that you are lying or not. If he is not lying, then the evidence should be available with me that where did you did the prayer, and then he himself will be like,
Are you actually serious?
Yeah, why not?
You're gonna put CCTV on your son's room?
Verbal proof never works. You need to have the evidence that you are lying. Then I can say that yes, you are lying. Now let's talk.
But then he can come up. If someone is lying, you know that very well with your own children.
But they are saying that I'm not lying.
But if they are lying, they know, a liar knows exactly how to lie, right? So if he's not praying in his room, he must have prayed somewhere else. He says, I prayed in someone else's room. I prayed in my brother's room.
That's what I will.
Oh, you have CCTV everywhere?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That if you prayed somewhere, then you should have,
So you're gonna store thousands of dollars of CCTV in every room. What if he says in the toilet or whatever? You're gonna have CCTV in your bathroom.
If that $1,000 is worth that he start praying, that's okay for me.
Sure, I respect that point of view. I respect that.
But that is even more if upset that he's lying. That should, even.
But by the way,
not on the price of not praying.
Yeah.
That price.
But you've got to understand, sister, that lying is
not in the bad.
Is a symptom. Lying is a symptom, sister. Lying is a symptom of something much deeper rooted than that. So for you to try to track him wherever he goes, just because of that, not just because prayers and things like that, there are other things that he's lying. So what are you going to do with other things? You're going to have CCTVs and you're going to get the liar detection test and have them in.
It's just to show him that no, you can be trapped anytime. So don't try to act sour in front of your parents. We can trap you at any point in time.
Sure.
Anyone else?
Yeah, no, I'm going to talk about this point. Yeah. So we'll hear from the Sayyid, but the brother and the Sayyid.
Just from the hypothetical there, I think there's a couple of things that in that story, at least we know, as opposed to what his brother is saying. So it seems like we know that he's at least not prioritizing salah.
Yes.
So I think what I'd be more interested in talking to him about is what I have seen personally and what we can have a dialogue about. So it wouldn't be that he's not praying.
Yeah.
It's talking to my son and saying, from what I've seen, salah sometimes doesn't come first for you. And that's okay in that you're growing and you're learning, but I want to understand from you why you feel like maybe sometimes it's not prioritized.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that at least it's pretty easy to bring examples of. We were doing jama'ah, you were watching TV or something like that.
But how would you approach if you found out right now that Suhail is not?
First of all, the right now for me is less relevant than today or tomorrow. I'd like to think about it and process it, but
So you won't get emotional, you won't get angry. You've raised him up all that time, and now you hear that he's not praying.
No, I think I'm more interested in a long-term.
Okay, so you'll let a few days pass by, and then.
I mean enough time to talk to my wife, come up with an idea, and then we go to his room and say.
And then casually you will.
Yeah, we want to talk to you about why you think that sometimes salah is not being prioritized for you, and understanding that you're young and you just became baligh, so this is a chance for us to figure it out now as we talk about it, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Samah to say. Just the mic, please. No, I'm going back to this.
Okay, so that's...
No, tafadhalu, let's hear your point of view. And then...
Okay, thank you so much. Very, very productive. So, sisters and brothers, I'm here not as Imam of Islamic Center or religious scholar. So just to make everybody happy and to show everybody I am here as a parent.
Right.
I'm going to take my amamasa. So I'm here just like you. This happened with me, and not necessarily on prayer, maybe something else, just like, okay? First of all, I think I, as a father, and let's say my wife, as a mother, we parents, we have lack of information. We need to change ourselves before we talk to our children. Unfortunately, many parents, Muslim parents, Mu'min parents, but they are not well religiously educated. So they don't know how to treat their children. In such situation, I would prefer to use this strategy. So you are Suhail in front of me. I don't call you. I don't open any discussion about lying, because at home, we shouldn't talk about lie at all. We need to build the trust. That is most important point. Now, somehow, if I understand Suhail is not praying, I really, not only I wouldn't tell him that I heard from your brother, even his brother tells me, my brother is not praying, I will not accept from him. Why you talk about your brother? Why you tell me something about your brother? You shouldn't say this, because you will do same or similar, and your brother will come to me and say something against you. So we need to kill it at home from scratch. Now, for any reason, if I understand, if I get it, my son is not praying or he lies, there are so many ways to relate the message without encountering him. For example, the previous brother, he mentioned discussion, counseling with my wife. That's a great method. So discussing the situation with wife, for example, mother, and you can use different strategy here. For example, because children, they prefer to not talk to parents directly. They would prefer to talk to or receive advice from third party, not parents. So sometimes we can talk to Imam of the Islamic Center. Please, if you can this week, talk about this topic. Indirectly. Or second day, third day, not the same day, because he will understand somehow the news. So second day, third day, on lunchtime or dinner time, we are talking. So very, not directly, indirectly, bring some story about the same situation from the Ahlul Bayt life, from the Sahaba life, that how Ahlul Bayt tried to teach them. That will make big difference. Or some story from the community, or just watch YouTube. There are so many things we can choose and relate the message without talking about the topic at all. Thank you so much.
Ahsantum. Thank you so much, Samahat Sayyid. It's very, very useful to have you here to guide us. I think I've got to move on. Sorry about this. But you guys, including Sayyid, has said a lot of things, but I will add to what you have said. You know, there were lots of really good, important points. But I think empathy is a wonderful approach. Okay, and have you guys heard about emotional intelligence? Yes, you guys know what emotional intelligence is really akhlaq, isn't it? You know, our beautiful religion has come with this concept long time ago, but now they are talking about emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is when you are an expert of the emotions of yourself and the people around you. And that's very important, the people around you. And when you know what are the triggers of the people around you, so husband and wife, they must be emotionally intelligent, okay? You know when things will annoy your wife. And your wife, she knows when there are certain things that will trigger the husband. So you know not to talk about this situation or talk about this other situation at that particular time. Okay, you try to avoid it or diffuse the situation. The problem is that sometimes they emphasize on one particular topic that they know the other person annoys them. And that creates that disagreement, creates that, this issues and conflict, okay? So being emotionally intelligent. What's the difference between sympathy and empathy? What's the difference between sympathy and empathy? Yes?
Sympathy is trying to connect without having experienced it. Empathy is a personal one.
Ahsant. So sympathy is like, if you're going through, for example, an illness or depression, say. If you're going through depression, sympathy is like, I'm so sorry what you're going through. That's sympathy. But empathy approach is that I can't imagine how difficult life is for you at the moment. That's empathy. I give an example of, for example, if you're, I give this example sometimes, that, you're at home and your wife is somewhere, right? And she's supposed to come at this particular time, but she's delayed in traffic. And it took her so long to come home, okay? The person who's not really sympathetic, he'll say, where are you? Oh, yeah, sorry you had to go through this and things like that. And why didn't you use Waze instead of Google Maps? I told you to use Waze. Waze is really good. Because we husbands, that's for another workshop, inshallah. We have a relationship thing. For husband, we want to fix things. We have tools. We carry tools with us wherever we go. And so whenever we open the tool, I want to fix this. But no, the women, they want a bit of empathy, want a bit of love, they want a bit of assurance. Okay? You guys don't get it, man. So they look at me like, assurance? Love? Whatever love means, as Charles famously said. But empathy is what? Empathy is when my wife comes and says, and I say, it must have been so difficult for you, the journey. I can't imagine how difficult that journey was for you, traffic and things like that. So you empathize with her, okay? That calms the other person down, yes? So to approach in this particular aspect, I agree with a lot of what people have said here. Don't react straight away, because our anger will come out in a different way. Remember, when you're angry, your brain is not really talking, your emotions are talking. right? Anger is an emotion. It's the language of emotions, right? So when you come and you speak in an angry way, this is not your brain. This is not your aql really talking. So calm down, discuss it, as the Samahatu Sayyid said, and the brother said, discuss it with your wife, right? Or the wife discusses it with the husband, and then casually start to talk about these things. Don't make a conference out of it, or a workshop, or a seminar. Say, okay, now tonight, 9 p.m., we have a meeting. Okay, so let's sit down. Meeting, come. Okay, so I heard that you don't pray. Why is it you don't pray? You are lying to me. It's all these accusations. But as the Samahatu Sayyid said and others, just, try to indirectly introduce this concept. Give them this indirect message of the importance of salah, but do not give them something that is not important. Of course, as-salah is important. You've got to emphasize as-salah is important. As-salah is wajib, of course, right? So you give them that guidance. You've got to give them that guidance, but in a subtle way, okay? So you listen to them. When they speak, you listen. We're really bad at listening. Again, my dear fellow fathers, right? We're not good at listening. And husbands, husbands, if they're fathers, they have to be husbands, right? We know very good. Are they good at listening? Huh? Are they good? Are they good at listening? They're good at hearing. There's a difference between hearing and listening. Because hearing is like, when you're on the laptop and your wife is talking, and at the end you say, she said, is that okay? And you think, say that again? And she says, so you weren't listening to me? So, no, just that last part. Yeah, you know what happened to all of you. You know that. Yeah. So we're really terrible at listening. Okay, we're very good at hearing. Okay. So one of them has acknowledged, mashallah. Yes. So we must listen to the child. When the child speaks, we listen to them attentively. And we're going to talk about screens and mobile phones later. And you've got to understand their emotions. Sometimes, as we said, there is something deep-rooted. Don't think lying comes cheaply. There is something deep-rooted. Lying is just a symptom, but there's something deep-rooted. You need to find out what's going on. There's probably uncertainty, a bit of anxiety, low self-confidence, low self-esteem, something happening at school. Talk to them. Just have a conversation. Go out in a park. I'm again talking to the fathers. I speak as a father. Okay? We don't spend enough time with our children. Generally speaking, fathers do not spend enough time with their children. And what I mean by you spend time with the children is not lesson like how our fathers used to do. Our fathers used to come, now after salah, now is lesson time. Or between salah, dhuhr, asr, now is teaching time. No. Go out and play a game. Play FIFA. You know how to play FIFA? Nah, doesn't know how to play FIFA. I don't as well. You know how to play? Yeah, play FIFA with them. Right? You play something else with them. Take them to a cafe, their favorite cafe, or a park, or walk with them. Play football with them. There's a really nice strategy that we used, but you've got to be consistent. This is the result of COVID. Is that you've got to have a one-to-one with them, free one-to-one with them for 10 minutes. They can do whatever they want. So if you have 3 kids, you split 30 minutes, each parent, and you say, you tell me what to do right now for 10 minutes, I'll do anything, but I'll do it with you. So I remember my son used to say, come, let's play football. But this 10 minutes only, okay? 10 minutes. He has your full attention. No phones, no distractions, nothing. He has your full attention. Leave your phone away. Oh. You're right, football is a useless sport. The American football is a useless sport. It's such a useless sport, isn't it? Like all the other baseball and hockey and such useless sports. Basketball's all right. I'll give you basketball. Yeah. And also, we can talk for ages on these things, but I have to move on. Physical touch. No one mentioned physical touch. Physical touch is so important. When they come out and speak to you, or when they're engaging with you, give them a hug. Doesn't mean that you agree with what they said, but sometimes this physical hug and physical touch gives a lot of assurance that you're on their side, you're not against them. Because as soon as you say, he realizes, Suhail realizes that you are someone who's against you, then you'll start detaching. They start detaching, sorry. You know, by you having that physical touch with them, you telling them that I'm on your side. I'm your friend. Tell me anything you want, because I'm always your friend. Okay? I'm sorry, I have to move on. I know there's a lot of issues, but yeah, I mean, these are, try to understand the depth of their doubts, yeah. And the final one, as Samahta Sayyid also alluded to, could this actually be your own, reflect your own doubts? How is your salah at home? Remember, your children are a reflection of you. Yes, your children are a reflection of you. So how is your salah? Maybe you don't even pray, or maybe you don't even pray on time. How do you expect your children to pray on time? You know, we talk about our children, we want them the best of akhlaq, but my akhlaq at home is not very good. I say certain words that are not right. How am I supposed to expect my child to grow with great akhlaq? So you maybe analyze yourself and find out, if this is happening to my child, how is it for me? Okay? Maybe there's you or your spouse, there is the underlying problem is a problem with you, not with the child. Maybe. Okay? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Yes, I keep on having slides. Have a godly home. Always have dhikrullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Samahta Sayyid said also Ahlul Bayt salamullahi alayhim, and be the person your child wants to be. It's so important. In your behaviors, in your akhlaq, in your salah, in your community work, everything, be the person your child wants to be. You want your child to be. Okay? Don't be a hypocrite. Okay? All right, let's go to scenario 2. Oh, I keep on having slides, for goodness sake. So this is a good dua. Which Nabi said this? Is the brothers, can you guys see? رب اجعل لي مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. Which? Rabbi Ibrahim salamullahi alayhi. Yes? Read this dua. Read this ayah. If you want your child to make sure that they always pray, continuously read this. You know, Nabi Ibrahim salamullahi alayhi read this. He had this dua. So, you know, and there's plenty of other duas, but this one talks about dhurriyati, talks about his offspring. Okay? And prayers as well. Okay. Scenario 2. You guys still up for other scenarios? We have 4 more, so we gotta move on a bit faster. So your 16-year-old son is called Ali. You realize lately that Ali is not coming back home straight after school. When you ask him why, he says that he's going to his friend Sadiq's house to do homework together. You investigate and found out that this is not true. Reality is that Ali is going to shisha cafes because his dad goes to it after school, sometimes skips lessons and goes early to the cafe and has shisha with his friends. You also find out that sometimes girls from the school also join them for shisha. Some of his friends smoke cigarettes, but you don't have any evidence that Ali smokes any cigarettes. One day you and your spouse decide to confront Ali with the reality. Discuss how will you start the conversation with Ali. So remember, now you've got Ali in, okay? It's a serious matter. You've got Ali in and you said, come Ali, let's have a chat. Okay? What will be your tone and what will be the likely outcome of the conversation? So Ali's doing shisha. Ali is probably doing shisha cafes with his, some girls as well. He's mingling. Oh, hookah. Sorry, you guys don't call it shisha. Oh, really? No, in UK it's all called shisha. Oh, hookah, yes. You know the pipe thing. Hubble bubble. Huh? Devil apple? What is it? Hubble bubble, yeah. So, tell me. You want to think about it first? Okay, take a minute to think about it. If anyone wants refreshments, there's refreshments at the back. I'm happy for you to and refresh yourself, because there are refreshments for refreshing purposes. You start with the sunnah. The Sayyid has already started the sunnah. So they say it's a sunnah to Sayyid. Okay. شوي صعبة. اي شوي يحتاج. Okay, guys. Time is up. I'm sorry, I've got to move because we've got lots of scenarios we've got to go through. Tell me, how would you? So this is now, you've realized this. So maybe it's a few days after both of the parents have cooled down and things like that. They say it's the best thing for us to speak to Ali. Let's just come and have a chat, Ali. Okay, how would you start the conversation with Ali? Yes. Sorry? Yes? Or which one? Yeah, go on. Sorry, the sister, and then.
Assalamu alaikum. So, I wouldn't be upset, and I wouldn't call my son down and be angry at him. I mean, shisha is a thing that a lot of teenagers are doing, and I see that happening all the time. To be honest, I would look at it towards like a medical perspective on why I would be upset of why he's doing that. I know the other problem is that he's skipping his classes. So I think that's one of my issues, is that he's skipping school and his responsibilities. And I would probably sit down and say, how's your school going? Kind of discuss the importance of school and what his future goals are. Kind of tell him to tell me what his priorities are, and not make it into like a confrontational problem or issue, because it's not me versus him. It's kind of me and him working together towards an actual goal. And then the other point I would point out is what is he accomplishing doing the shisha? Because once I have his goals. Can
I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Just
go ahead.
Get back to your point. Don't forget. So you have no problem, just to be clear. You have no problem in your son Ali being with girls, mixing in a shisha cafe.
Well, yeah, I do.
Because you dismissed that. No, you dismissed that. You said I have no problem with him doing shisha. No, I have no problem
with the shisha. Well, I do obviously have a problem with him doing the shisha. But to be honest,
you dismissed it. You just quickly went into the other one, which is fine.
Right.
But I'm just trying to touch on that.
Yeah. So, of course, I have a problem with it, but I can't come out exactly and be like, hey, I'm upset because you're doing that, right? Like, I have to.
So how would you start the conversation? If I'm Ali, how would you start the conversation?
It's like, hey, how was school today? What did you learn? How was this class?
Yeah, we learned a lot of things. We did math and we did science. And I went to Sadiq's house afterwards. We did some homework together.
Okay. I said, did you guys end up stopping by the cafe afterwards?
Which cafe?
The one where Sadiq goes.
Sadiq doesn't go to any cafe.
Oh, he doesn't?
No.
I'm going to go to the TV footage. The one on the street with the...
so now you have links with the local... where you're tracking...
Me and the police are working together.
My God, the mums these days, they're military. Yeah.
I'm gonna actually point to my husband and I'm gonna be like, your Baba saw you there. And he wants to have a talk with you upstairs, so get on up there.
Oh, so your husband is a hookah guy? Oh, okay.
He's more strict than I am.
Oh, he's more strict. Who's the husband? Would you enlighten us, oh Mr. Husband?
I'm gonna call a friend.
How would you start the conversation with Ali? How old is your child?
Our son is 8 years old.
8 years old. In the future, maybe this happens. How would you... I said maybe it happens. Did I say inshallah? I didn't say inshallah. I said maybe. It could happen to anyone. So how would you start the conversation with Ali?
I mean, there's just a lot to unpack here. I mean, the first thing is the trust issue.
You're not answering my question.
Yeah.
I am Ali. How do you start? Because you guys don't trivialize how you start conversations. Because this is the crux of the matter. If you start off really badly on the wrong foot, then maybe it's a whole slippery slope. So how would you start a conversation with Ali?
I mean, I wouldn't confront him. I'd just say, how's your day going? What have you been doing? Like, what did you do yesterday? What did you do here, there? And then, go from there. He might explain that he went to Sadiq's house. I mean, knowing that it's not true, I wouldn't say, I know you're lying.
So you won't accuse him of lying. Okay. Are you okay with, then you know that for a fact, that he's going to Shisha and there are girls coming and some of his friends are having cigarettes, but you don't have proof that he's smoking cigarettes. But you have, he's mixing with all that. What would you do? What would you, your tone and how would you deal with the situation? Would you be comfortable with that?
I mean, it's an uncomfortable conversation. There's no way to actually talk about it without telling them that you know. I mean, so then they would.
So then you will open up and say, look, I know
in an
that.
angry and confrontational way.
How would you do that?
I've heard that, or I know.
Where did you hear from?
Well, how do I know? You said I know.
You know, but you're talking to Ali.
Yeah.
So how would you know that? How would you convince Ali that you know? Sorry? CCTV again? No. Sorry? Oh, Sadiq now. Poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably do it in a way that I wasn't sounding like I was like following him. I'd be like, I talked to Sadiq's parents about something else. I found out you weren't at their house.
Okay.
Somebody I know saw you at this cafe.
But forgive me. I'm not against you here. I'm just trying to make sure that. So you'll be lying to your son.
Well, how would I mean, how do I know? Somebody must have told me.
So he's lying and you're going to be lying. So there's double lying.
No, but I wouldn't be. How would I have known? Somebody must have told me. I must have.
Yeah, but so this is the truth?
Yeah, I would tell. I mean, I would tell him how I. No, not directly. This person here told me.
Okay.
But
So you're okay, sure.
Indirectly, and then now that I know and they know, then we would have to talk about. There's like I said, there's just a lot to talk about. There's the girls, there's the smoking, there's the health problems with nicotine addiction.
Are you okay with I'm not sure why I'm pointing at you. Are you okay with no CCTV? No, please. Are you okay with shisha but without girls?
No, I personally no.
You know, okay, because you said you're okay. Do we have CCTV here? We can rewind. We need to rewind. You said you're okay. Okay.
In a way that it wouldn't be competition. It's like you said, you would have a conversation. I'd be like, okay, these are the effects of what shisha would do to you, and I'm not gonna make him feel bad about doing it because that's already done and it's already in the past. And something that's already done in the past. And
you are going to confront him with it.
No, it's not about confronting. It's about conversating with him about this issue, right? And if he's done something, and that's fine now because it's already done. Now I can't, making him feel ashamed of it would be my issue, right? And I don't want him to do that because I don't want him to feel guilty. But I do want him to understand the effects of what he is doing, not only to himself, but to the people around him and the influence that he puts to everyone in this house, to his siblings, to me, to them, and how he represents everything that he does is a representation of who he is.
Yeah.
So I think I think a conversation is just me being like, okay, this happened. Not that I'm okay with it, but just that it's happened, it's done. Now we're gonna move on. And how do we go from here?
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. Yes. Anyone who hasn't spoken, yes. Sister.
So I would. Assalamu
alaikum.
So I would say, Ali, Habibi, come sit with me. Let's talk about something. And he would sit with me, and I may say, approach it, and I would say, I know that it's very common at your age that your peers may be going to these shisha cafes. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think? And then I'd get just his thoughts. He may not say much, and I would say, well, what do you think about it in the scheme of your
Have you found out? So if I'm Ali, I'm gonna say, Okay, so you found out I'm going to Shisha Cafe.
But I wouldn't let
No,
him know that
let's do
yes,
this. So you found out I'm going to Shisha Cafe.
I think it might be a possibility because I understand that your peers are going.
Okay, so I am going to Shisha Cafe, but only sometimes.
Okay. So I would say, how do you think that would affect your education, your career? Like
That's
what
fine.
You
I'm doing homework, Sadiq's house, and sometimes I go to Shisha Cafe.
Okay.
I've seen Dad do it.
Okay. It's not true.
I am not talking about your husband, I'm talking generally. Do you have a son called Ali who's 16?
I have a son who's 16.
Oh, your son is 16?
Yes.
Oh my God, he's not called Ali, please.
No.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
No, but I mean, that's how approach it is. Talk to him, have a discussion.
So when you found out that he is going, and he admits it, I like your approach. You were very calm, very collected, and then you said, shishas can be, but you didn't accuse him. And that is the right strategy. Don't accuse. Just say, shishas, but then you've exposed him and he feels a bit guilty. So he said, okay, I am going to shisha. Well, what's the problem? A lot of my friends go, a lot of my, so what's the issue here?
I would say, to be honest, I'm very disappointed to hear that because I have higher standards for you, both physically from a health perspective, something that I've always taught you about, and also that the way that you spend your time. And I feel like that is frivolous, that I would want you to spend your time in a better way.
But a lot of my friends are doing it. Their parents are okay with that. Why are you not okay with it?
I can say, well, we've always discussed, who your friends are and what they do. And if you feel like they're going one way, then maybe you need to think about who these friends are, right?
So you want me to not be friends with my friends?
No, I just think that you need to think about how you spend your time and how you spend your time with your peers.
Okay, thank you so much. We didn't, Farouk and then Farouk, yes. And then, say that.
So once upon a time, like 20 years exactly, I was 16 years old, right? The advice we were getting in Dearborn from like many of the community leaders and some of the scholars as well, when our friends started going clubbing and drinking and girls, all other stuff, was that bring him to the shisha lounges in Dearborn because it's halal there, right? So now, 20 years later, I'm a father that I was raised with that culture, right? And obviously shisha is very normal in my culture, with my friends. Very few friends don't participate, go to shisha lounges. But then you have like my wife, where is she? Who's vehemently against it, right? And then let's say in 14 years she sees him smoking, right? Before she talks to him, obviously her and I have to be on the same page. So the question that I would have is obviously.
Are you okay with hookah?
Obviously, if no one's going to say I want my kids to smoke, right?
So no, but if you see your son in such a scenario, let's just get into this scenario, because we can talk about different hypotheticals. But if you have your son who you see him, that he's doing shisha or hookah with girls in a cafe because he's seen you do it at home, and sometimes you go out with your friends. Sorry, I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying you might. Okay, what would be your reaction?
I mean, there's a possibility that I'm taking him to a hookah lounge with the family. And in Dearborn, that's very normal in the culture. Very normal, right?
Okay, well, you don't live in Dearborn.
I don't right now, but we go there a lot, and we go with my uncle and whatever, like maybe it's iftar at a shisha lounge, and then some people smoke afterwards. But let's put that on the side. The question that I have is, how would a wife, like let's say, who's very against, it's a bad habit, culturally, it's maybe even haram, how would she get her husband on the same page before approaching the son so, that they're not looking like hypocrites? My father smokes at home.
So there is a disagreement between the couple.
And obviously smoking is not good anyways.
Yeah.
So, but I think what's important right now is for many of the guys over here is how would, or the couples here, the young couples, how would the one spouse, get the other spouse on board first?
You've got to be, I think, quite sensible about this. And I'm going to say my point of view here, and maybe it's not the right point. I've done lots of studies on shisha. I used to work in public health, and in terms of a public health perspective, it's much more dangerous than a cigarette. Okay, and there's been lots of studies being done and things like that. And what's also interesting is I know some friends who say that some people have intellectual discussions over a hookah. They're just like, whoa, yeah, what about this? You know, does God exist? So, you know, some people have that. And yeah, I say, look, you know, how would you have such an intellectual discussion while actually harming the self? Because you're harming your own self. And, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't do that. لا تلقوا بأيديكم إلى التهلكة, right? So that's my perspective. It's about harming the self. And also, to be quite honest with you, the second thing is about the environment. I don't know about you guys here, but I know in UK, the environment is toxic when it comes to these shisha cafes. It's really toxic. It's low light, girls and boys like stay till 11 p.m., 12 a.m., just sitting down, having like a shisha together and doing things. So mainly, look, I don't know about the fathers. I mean, I don't judge them, but I'm talking about the next generation here. And them, he's single, Ali's single, he's 16, he's getting desires, he's attracted by girls, sitting down in that environment, having a hookah, and remember, if you have coffee or tea, it will finish like in 10 minutes. But hookah is like 1 hour, right? I mean, I haven't had one, but it's like an hour, right? Or hour. Oh, they take another one? Oh, okay. Yes, sister. Yes. Mike, please.
So just to say, my husband's now going to cringe in his seat, but I have a question for you. On the previous example with namaz, you said not to accuse your son that he's lying or stuff like that, because we don't have any evidence minus the CCTV. Okay, so in this case, he is in a situation where he's doing shisha, and realistically speaking, a lot of us have done shisha, so our kids probably seen us do shisha, right? So turning around and saying you can't do shisha, you're the hypocrite, especially if you've done it or you've gone with, even if you're not smoking, if you've gone with your friends that are smoking and your kid knows that, then it's like you're condoning it, right? So the big elephant in that question is the girl situation. Now, whilst that's the one
in your perspective, sure.
Okay, well, that's the one that you've been keeping harping on about in the last.
No, I've been talking about hookah. I've been talking about girls. I've been talking about
So if we talk about I'm okay with the shisha, the education part. Obviously, I have to.
Are you okay with the shisha?
Yes.
You're okay with your son Ali going to a shisha cafe? Say if it's just boys, you're okay with him?
Yes, I am okay with that as long as, now here's the key, the other part of this scenario is the education. He's skipping class, right? If he's skipping class, that's not okay, right? Because those are two, it's not the same thing. It's okay for you to go have shisha and not go to class, not acceptable. Right? So that is the conversation I would have, that you can't, shisha should not be impacting your grades, right? And your life trajectory here, right? In your path to success, right? So that part, that's what I would concentrate on. The other part of this conversation is the girls. Now, going back to the previous thing, I can't accuse him of having inappropriate conversations with his girls. I was not there. I have not seen that. Now, if I'm there and I see something inappropriate, then that's a different thing. If he does have the halal gap between girls and boys, I'm talking to you, right? There's no shisha here, but we're having a conversation, right?
Sorry, what is the halal gap?
As in space, right? If he's all cuddled up next to a girl, that's a different situation. That's not allowed. Right?
I don't know if in jurisprudence we have a halal gap between girls.
I'm just using terms that my kids use.
Yeah, but that's a bit, anyway, go on.
But the point is, what is happening, right? If this shisha, if shisha's not an issue, if his education is not an issue, then the issue being with the girls, I can't accuse him. Are you interested in one of these girls, right? I might be putting in ideas in his head that he doesn't have. Right? That girl may be a friend of a friend.
Okay, so you think it's an opportunity for him to get...
I'm not saying it's an opportunity for anything. All I'm just saying is that it's possible for somebody to talk to somebody else of the opposite gender and it just be a conversation. It does not have to be a haram conversation. Not every conversation leads down to a haram conversation.
Sure. But there are, I mean, there's a lot to unpack in what you've said, and I think it's just because of lack of time. But thank you for expressing your point of view, and it's very much respected. But in terms of, I'm gonna get back to Faro. But in terms of what you have said, sister, And it's interesting what you've said, absolutely interesting. Yes, you're absolutely right about him skipping school, and that's a fundamental thing that you've got to try to find out why he's skipping school, what is it that is going on in school. Maybe he's not uncomfortable, maybe there are issues going on there. Again, it's a deep-rooted issue. And then he's spending his time doing certain things that he enjoys very much, okay? And now it comes to there's several things. There is the shisha issue, which you say it's fine if it's boys only. If it's girls only, then you think they might be talking about, it depends on the situation, but if they have this, what you call this halal space, which I don't know what it is, but in your terminology, you say this is halal space, then they might be talking about something that is useful. But I doubt it very much in such a scenario, in such an environment, so to speak. Okay, so you and I are now talking in a workshop, okay, in an environment is respectful, etc. Okay, but if there are girls and boys sitting down in a cafe, in a shisha cafe at evening or whatever afternoon, that doesn't call for a sensible talk. There's going to be a lot of jokes, yes. And we know what happens. Their desires are, remember, they're fresh. They're 16-year-olds. Now they want to find out what. Sorry? It's a slippery slope, isn't it? Because now, you know, you want to talk to her, you want to show off, you want to say, like, you know, I do this and stuff, and then you'll have jokes and things. So the environment is toxic. If we truly want to make sure that spouse selection is done properly, we'll arrange things between girls and boys in a supervised manner in the center. That is something we can do, under supervised, you know, where we do a certain activity maybe, or so for the girls and boys to try to get to know each other, but supervised, okay? And a friendly environment that isn't, you know, you don't cross the borders. But that is a toxic environment in a shisha place. We want to finish off with Farouk.
Assalamu alaikum. I didn't want to take too much time in the conversation, sort of.
Yeah, please hurry up.
Diverge a little bit.
Yeah, hurry up.
Many years ago, my mother, rahmatullah alayha, caught me in a situation very similar to this. It wasn't involving shisha, but in Farsi they have a term, asla matlab, right? The core of the problem or the core of the issue. And the core of the issue here is integrity. It seems as if. And so a couple of things. My mother didn't have any problems confronting me. And it seems as if we have a little bit of discomfort with the idea of confrontation. So my mother actually followed me in her very nondescript Toyota Corolla.
Oh, okay.
You know, she didn't use CCTV,
yeah,
but she was, you know, feet on the ground.
There was no CCTV at that time, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe not. Anyway, the point being that after she followed me, she, you know, had a confrontation with me, and it wasn't like a, you know, belt buckle beat me over the head conversation. But it was just a very frank.
Sorry, we don't know what were you doing? You don't want to say. Oh, you don't want to say. Okay, all right, sure. Okay, fine. You want? Yeah, all right.
No, but the point being that in a very similar scenario, I wasn't doing something that was. You could argue, you know,
okay,
depending
sure.
on your manager is, depending on the scenario.
Oh, right. So it's not black and white thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the point I wanted to get to is that it seems as if the core here is the integrity.
Yes.
And so you have to have a conversation with the child that's frank and perhaps even a little aggressive. You know, do you have integrity with yourself? Not so much so, you know, what you worry about my expectations, but your integrity with yourself. If the expectation is that you're going to be in school and you're going to be doing these activities and you're somewhere else, that's the key problem. Forget about the health issues, forget about all that other stuff. That's the sort of additional layers. The sub is the integrity.
Absolutely. No, beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm going to just move on for time's sake. So again, you know, we talked about anger. So the way, remember, the question was, how would you approach them? And, you know, you got to ensure that you're not speaking from anger. See, this is very important, and I think some of you may have alluded to this, right? You've got to express disapproval without attacking character, okay? Because what he's doing, regardless of what you think is right or wrong, what he's doing, he's skipping school. That's not right, okay? And if he's going, if your view, and I respect your point of view, but if your view is that he shouldn't really spend time with sorry? CCTV? Yes. 1 second. So if you don't, Sorry, sister, sorry. My apologies. I'll hear you, inshallah. So if you do not have that, if you think that shisha is something that is you don't agree with, then you should say that to them. You see that there's a very clear difference between actually trying to go around the situation and not really talk about it, like the salah one. The salah one, where they put their defense on and and things. But what you guys have said is the right thing. Try, because they start lying. But there are certain things that you've got to go heads on. This particular issue, in terms of them not going to class, it's very difficult for you to just go around and round and try to ask people, okay, what do you speak to him and things like that. No, you've just got to start to be, show disapproval, but without attacking character. And this is very important. Again, with relationships as well. When we say you, right? Every person, if I was to say you did this and you are this and you have done this, you'll quickly put an armor out and you're going to defend yourself. But if you say, well, I feel like what the sister said, I feel a bit disappointed. That was very beautiful the way you said it. I feel disappointed because as a mother, I brought you up, and not like this, but again, not attacking him, but say, I feel sad and I feel disappointed that you are skipping school. Right? It's not guilt tripping, but it's a way for him to try to understand that this is wrong. So always try to use I. Don't attack. The problem, again, with husband and wife, by the way. A lot of problems happen when you said this and you did this. Remember, you said that. When you start saying you, then the human being, naturally, because of our ego, we put a guard out. But when you say, I feel sad that this has happened. I felt a bit, down. Lately I felt a bit down because of the situation that happened. Just avoid using you. And the same thing with children, with at least he's 16-year-old, so you should really know. Say that, I feel disappointed as the sisters. I feel sad that, this is happening, right? So it's because you don't want them to put the shield up, and then it will start to become a confrontational issue. And as Farooq said, of course, there is also, as he said here, it's an integrity thing. And you can say, I think the issue here is like lying, smoking shisha and free mixing. You haven't attacked character. You said, I think the issue here, so you're describing to him the issue. I think the issue here is lying, because he's been lying about not going to school, about going to shisha without going to school. Smoking shisha and free mixing. Okay? And that's very important. And you've got to show strong disapproval on this. Even in this particular aspect, he's going to say, well, how do you know I'm lying? We said before, how do you know I'm lying? How do you know, the issues? But you've got to, you have factual information that he's skipping school. Either you've spoken to the school, etc. So you do have factual information. And that's very important. You've got to show disapproval. Don't beat around the bush, as they say. Okay, with these issues, you've got to show disapproval. Explain why Islamically it's wrong. And ask this question, what do you think we should do from now on? Give them the suggestion. I recently did that with my daughter and screen time, which we're going to go next. What do you think we should do from now on? Let them suggest a suggestion rather than we, shove it up down their throat and they say, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Let them give a suggestion. What do you think should be done next? But for those of you who have younger children, what if we could have prevented this from happening? Isn't it? From a young age, have this culture of authenticity and honesty. Just always have, make them your best friends. Have this relationship where they are authentic to you. They're honest with you in things they do. Okay? So let's create that relationship for those of you who have younger children. Ahsant. And so trying to prevention is better than cure, as the Sayyid said. And More involvement from the father. I don't want to repeat myself. Guys, honestly, we got to try to get more involved. The father has to get more involved in the upbringing of the children. Speak to them, play with them, take them out, spend one-to-one time with your child. We've talked about this. And we also talked about dhikrillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't underestimate doing dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Ahlul Bayt salamullah alayhim. Always continuously do dhikrillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Ahlul Bayt, it gives them this comfortness inside. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, so we have 3 scenarios. Sorry, sister, you wanted to say something. Yes. So sorry, I forgot. Switch on the mic. Okay, you can speak. I can hear you.
So the problem is, my question is like, it's not been go back to 15 years back or 20 years back. It's not like now people around, our friends around us, they are boozing or they are taking drugs or they're free mixing. It has been always. When we were going to our school, they used to be friends.
Yeah.
But that time, it was like when we come back home, we had some do and don'ts. That you are supposed to do this, no, you are not supposed to do this. There was one person who was calm, there was one person who was strict. At my place, my mother was strict, my father was calm. And I was aware that this is something that I'm not supposed to do. It's not allowed in my house. So why can't we do the same thing? Why both have to be very soft, polite, and then confront them and talk to them? One can be hard, one can be soft. It should be very much clear from the day one that this is not allowed in my house. I cannot do shisha. I cannot do kind of free mixing. It's kind of prohibited in my house because my mother doesn't allow, or maybe my father doesn't allow. If I want to do it, maybe I need to go and talk to, maybe my mother is strict, she cannot understand, but maybe my father can understand.
Yeah.
So maybe if I am willing to do something that is not allowed at my place, maybe I should go out and speak about it. But that's a don't at my place.
Yeah, but
why can't we do such environments?
Yeah, but you're talking in a perfect world where all children follow
the. It's not perfect. It has to be like that.
No,
nowadays
because a lot of children don't. And remember, I don't know, is this here in this country?
Everywhere. It's not about
no, but it's different.
Specific.
It's different in the
in
West.
Every country you find these things. Shisha is everywhere.
I know, but it's in this. The world has changed. Okay, our children are now exposed to all sorts of things.
Maybe the way we have not trying to.
But things have changed, sister.
Changed.
Things have changed. Using force and using things to prevent them might backfire. Okay.
I understand.
Yeah. So what is important? I think even before, I will say, using ways. Even when we look at Islamic scripture, even when we say how Luqman spoke to his son, right? It's when Luqman spoke to his son, he said in the particular verse he said وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ, right? وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِإِبْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. He didn't just speak to him. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have said وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِإِبْنِهِ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ. No, he said وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. What does وَعِظُهُ means? It means that he's actually created that environment and he's giving him true advice, but with sincerity. And that advice is said in the best possible way. Surely Luqman didn't come and say, come, this is not right, okay? Don't tushrik billah. Don't do it like this. No. But you say it in the best possible way. The methodology behind saying it and creating that environment is really important for the child. Because you might think this is okay, but they're internally, they feel trapped. Okay, so we just, this is the methodology I believe Islamically is recommended, as well as now in this generation where sometimes, as I said, there are certain things you've got to disapprove of. You've got to say it, but don't attack character, because then that will create that environment. I need to move on. So we have 3 scenarios and we have around half an hour left. So you guys still okay? Continuing? Brothers? Yes, inshallah. I'm happy for you to go and have some refreshments. Do you want to take a break? Or shall we just finish in half an hour? Finish, oh? Okay, ya Allah. So you have a 12-year-old daughter called Maryam. You gave her a phone when she was 10. You realize that she's using her phone a lot, chatting with her friends and social media. As a result, you have a lot of fights about her phone, about her phone. She's doing her homework late, sleeping less, and doing less social activities. Discuss how will you deal with this situation. I'll give you a minute. So, 1 minute. Okay, I'm really sorry to push you because I don't have much time. My dear brothers and sisters, how would you deal with this situation? So just as a first, so a hands up, who has dealt with this situation? You guys haven't dealt? 12-year-old. So I had a situation, I'm happy, is this not live, right? Is this live? Okay. I'm happy to share my own personal, so I had this a few days ago. So I've got a daughter, 16-year-old, we've had this issue. But now I have the 12-year-old son who spoke to me a video phone. I was in Texas with the Cowboys. And I was, my phone, I need some tea, I think. My son, I spoke to my son on video call. I try to do that every night. So he said, Baba, I just want you to listen to me. I've rehearsed this speech. So he's got a speech. You know, he's got a speech. He said, I've rehearsed this. So please just listen to me. I said, yeah, fine. But I was on my laptop actually. You think I teach what I preach? No, I preach what I teach. No. So I said, yeah, fine, what's the problem? And he said, look, I've been, going out with my cousins, going out, to places in Ramadan and iftars, and everyone has a smartphone. Everyone's playing around with their smartphone. And by the way, I wrote this scenario well before. I've had this presentation some time ago. So this happened a few days ago. And basically, he's been really emotional, very emotional, that he has a brick phone. You call these Nokia brick phones, right? But his cousins, his friends, etc., when he goes to the center, they all have mobile phones which are smartphones. And they have games in them. And they have things that they interact with and do things. And he feels he's left out. He's 12, he's not even 12 yet, he's 11. He feels he's left out. He wants a phone. And he came up with a solution. He said, I have a proposal. That's what his speech was. He has a proposal that he wants to trial it out for 3 days. It's quite a smart way because he knows that he will keep it. So he said, just 3 days, you give me the smartphone and then you see whether I'm addicted to it or not. Just 3 days. Of course, I haven't given him one, but this is real, guys. Really, smartphones is destroying the next generation. Okay, I have lectures and lectures on these things. You can search them. And I've done research on this. It's destroying their brains. And we're going to see the effects of social media and phones later on. Not now, we are seeing it later on. Okay? So how would you deal with this situation? And also, she takes her phone to her bedroom. And God knows what she does with it as well. Sorry? Military. Proper militant. Yes, sorry. You wanted to say something? Yes? Yeah? Okay. May Allah help you. Okay.
We have some rules in the home, and they have to follow it. So we have some screen time limited, and
How old are your boys?
my eldest is 18 almost, and then 14, and then 13. So we have rules that they cannot take their phone unless we are in the main area, even in the basement or upstairs. Any device is not allowed other than the main area. And
Have you not had any conflicts with them?
some in the beginning they had, but when we gave them phones, we had the conversation and the rules they have to follow. But sometimes kids try to
So
push the limits.
this screen time, is it managed by you?
My husband.
Yeah.
But
So
I make sure that they are following it.
okay. So what about when they go out?
The rule is same because we have screen apps and
Yeah, okay.
all the monitoring.
Sure.
So they cannot cross their limits. So
Okay.
their phone automatically locks
Sure.
by the 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. for the younger ones.
Yeah, but do you know what's happening when they're using their
Yes.
phone?
So we know what apps they are using.
Is that a
how
good
long.
thing? Is that a good thing?
It is because if
Are you
they
not
are
spying on them?
It's not spying,
No.
it's called rules.
Okay.
And we follow the rules for them, and they have to follow
Sure.
the rules for us as well.
Okay.
So we are spending, we are giving them everything
Okay.
For their desires to fulfill.
Thank you.
And they have to return something.
So how would someone else? How would you deal with this situation? Very quickly. Yes. Can I just can I hear from someone who hasn't spoken? Anyone who hasn't spoken? Yes. Brother, you want to speak? You want to speak? Yeah.
I think it's worth having a conversation about some ground rules and a middle ground. I would say discuss some limits, show them some data, some studies, see if you can convince them or expose them to the ills of social media. But after that, I don't think you can cut them off cold turkey, especially since you've already given them a phone at age 10.
Do you think that was a mistake?
I think it was a mistake.
Who thinks that it was a mistake? Yeah. No, smartphone. The age of 10. Is it okay to give a brick phone at the age of 10? No phone? What if because my son, he goes to school walking. We need to track him. I don't, we're not so rich to give him an AirTag. Sorry? Yeah, I'll get into that. So we just want to, just quickly, yes, sister.
No, I just want to explain the situation that, very similar to what...
Oh, you're English. Well, that's good.
She's from
You're from England. Welcome.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. It's nice to hear someone who speaks properly.
Yeah, oh my God. Proper English. Yes. Someone who speaks proper English. Yeah, someone who speaks proper English. Thank you.
So I'm very similar to the other sister. I have 4 boys. Eldest is 20, youngest is 6. So in order to mitigate this problem, we had phone contracts. So at the age of 16, when they entered high school, we had a contract which we both came up with different rules and regulations. Some things for him, some things for us. And we went over it and signed it. Basically, they couldn't have their phone in their room at night.
So does that work?
It worked to an extent. But then we did have discussions together as a couple that rather than restricting as time goes on, we have to teach them how to use it properly. And that comes with setting the own example ourselves. So we were very diligent, not wasting time on phones ourselves, on social media, etc. And then also modeling that behavior and allowing them some agency as well.
Yeah.
Because we noticed with our first son, who was, unfortunately the first child is always somewhat of a guinea pig, that we were a little bit more restrictive with him. So we saw a little bit of pushback. So then we sort of tapered things as we were going along. Now the 12-year-old that we have has made his case for number 1.
Has he made his case?
He wants a phone, and number 2, he wants his own room. I mean, really?
Room.
This is ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. But his phone, his case for a phone, what are you going to do?
Absolutely not. I say, whatever we did with your brothers, we're doing with you. You're going to have one in high school if you need it.
Well, when is high school?
When is high school here? 14, 15. We're sort of 15.
Oh, so he doesn't even have a brick phone?
Absolutely not.
Wow, that's good.
That's military.
That is military. It's proper militant stuff. Okay, I'm just going to go through some slides because, yeah, I mean, lots of research is showing. So this is UK, but I'm sure it's very much reflective of what's happening in the US. So 3 to 4 year olds here. Yeah, this is government data. So this is back data, 2019. Okay, 3 to 4 year olds, 1% have a smartphone. 16,000 3 to 4 year olds have a smartphone. 10% have their own tablet. 52% go online for 9 hours a week. 3 to 4 year olds. And 36% play games for 6.5 hours a week. Come on, you've got, sorry? This is UK, but I said it can be, I'm sure Americans are the same thing, all right? It's probably more, yeah, more, exactly. So this is 3 to 4 year olds, yeah, and you can see, and this is rising, it's rising, okay? But now we come to teenagers, 12 to 15 year olds, 83% have their smartphones. Sister, 12 to 15 year olds, 83% have their smartphones. Okay, so your child is a minority. 99% they go online for 20.5 hours a week on average. 69% social media profiles, 12 to 15 social media profiles, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. This is the most striking for me. 71% take their mobile phones to bed. It's like, you know, previously used to have teddy bears. Now they have their mobile phones beside them. And it's just so wrong in all fronts, don't you think? You know, to be so addicted to your mobile phone. And I've done, I mean, if I would have stayed here, I would have loved to do it, but I've done workshops for teenagers on smartphones, on screen time. And once I was in UK, it's called Milton Keynes City, you know about it. It was just me and you. They have no idea what I'm talking about. So there was, I'll come to you, sister, I'll come to you. So there was nearly around 60 of these people, right? Youngsters. They were around between ages of 11 to 16. You know, scattered all over here. And I was like, okay, and I was talking about these things, and and I asked, how many of you have social media profiles? 98% of them they did. This is 11 to 16 year olds. So how many of you have smartphones? 95% they did. Maybe 1 or 2 said we don't. 95%. Proper minority, by the way, you're okay. And in addition, I will never forget this guy. This guy sitting right here. And he said, he's a 12-year-old. He has a smartphone and he has a TikTok account, 24 hours access to it. So he said at 12 a.m., when he's going to bed, he checks all the TikTok, what's happening in the TikTok world, just before he goes to bed. And this is from our community, by the way, right? Shia community in Milton Keynes, okay? And he's a typical, well, I don't know what to say of a typical example, but he's an example. And I told you, there were around 60 of them, and 95% of them had more smartphones and social media profiles. And you might be a minority if you don't, but the world out there is because people like my son, so my parents like myself and children like my son, they come and beg you. Because why? Because the pressure out there is enormous. Because everyone else has it, so why can't I have it? And what do you do? And he's very emotional about it. Yes?
Sorry, just to add on to that too, it's not just mobile phones that's the problem, it's video games.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, yeah. But video games you can control video games. They don't take them everywhere they go. Mobile phones is more dangerous because they take them everywhere. They go to bed. You know, 71% take them to bed. That's the dangerous part. Yes? The blue scarf.
So in my house, I did, when my daughters, they started middle school, that's when they really wanted a smartphone because they said everyone has a smartphone by the time they get to middle school, which is 7th grade.
Oh, the school told you?
No, my daughters told me
your daughter told
that by 7th grade, when they start middle school.
How old is that?
That's about 13 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's when, my husband, we talked with each other and we gave them a smartphone, but with a lot of rules. They were never allowed to go to bed with it, and never allowed after 10 o'clock to use. I used to take them and used to put them in my own room to charge in the night.
But that's a lot. 10 o'clock.
My daughter, after she went off to college, then she took the phone with her to bed. Otherwise, not until she was with me.
Yeah.
And I physically took them all.
Has it created conflicts?
No.
So when you physically take them, they are fine with it?
They were fine with it because when I gave them, there was the ground rules were set already. And I used to take them, the phones, and charge them in my room. And I knew they couldn't come to my room in the night to take them from.
Thank you so much. Just very quick, because I've got to move very fast. Because we're really
15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah. So don't be a hypocrite. We use a lot of our phones, don't we? All right, so how many of us have used phones, and while our children are running around saying, my 7-year-old says, Baba, stop using your phone. I've been told off by her. Okay? Not proud of that. So we got to decide when is the right time to give your, with that situation with the 12-year-old, it's very, very hard. So some of you are right. You've got to just sit down and just say, look, you show them the effects of social media on them and the smartphones. And you've got to come up with an agreement, but you've got to be firm on this. You've got to be firm, but again, don't attack character, but got to be firm on this. This is a toxic, this is a disease, it's a pandemic that is affecting our children. Does anyone use Family Link? It's a Google app. It's very good. It's very good. I mean, if you got iPhones, there's screen time on iPhones, but if you've got an Android, Family Link is free. It's very good. You can switch it off. For me, sometimes I just press the button, or locks, and locks her phone, and I hear my daughter, Baba. It's amazing. All right. And you're gonna make an agreement with your child. You sit down and maybe that contract. Yeah, maybe make a contract and say, look, this is, if I'm going to give you the phone and what apps are going to go in there, that's it. You don't come and scream and tell me that I need more this, my friends have got this and things like that. You make a contract with them. But you've got to be firm, of course, with not firm as in angry, but firm on this particular issue because it is something toxic. Now, we have 10 minutes, so unfortunately we have 2 more scenarios. So I'm going to choose one of the scenarios because we don't have time to choose both. So I'm going to choose one, and inshallah we'll end with that. Do you want to choose? So one of them is LGBT. The other one, so one of them is about Jane. Which one is the Jane one? Yeah, no, I'll choose. This one is good. Okay. So, the children here. I did say no children. But I'm going to start anyway. Okay? Whoever's parents, I'm sorry. Right. Your 11-year-old daughter, Sumaya, sorry, this is year 7. This is maybe UK or whatever, but it's a mixed high school in Washington. Yeah, middle school. Yeah? Her best friend is Jane. This caused a lot of controversy. I've done this workshop all over the place. I did it in New Jersey as well. This caused a lot of controversy, okay? Her best friend is Jane. Sometimes Jane comes to your house to do homework with Sumaya and play. One day you get an opportunity to speak to Jane about her parents, who you have never met before. She told you her parents' names are Jason and Craig. Yeah. You realize that they are homosexual. Later on, when Jane left, you asked Sumaya what she thought of Jane's parents. Sumaya said, I was surprised at the start that she doesn't have a mom, but I'm okay with it now. They told us in school it's okay to have parents who are homosexual. Okay? So what would be your reaction to this? Yes. Speak. We can hear you. Yes, speak.
So I think there's a couple of things there that I would care about. The first is at this point, my child, if she's a year 7 student, I assume she's about 13, 12, 11.
11.
So at that point, I would have expected that we would have had conversations about this before we get to the point where she says it's okay.
You didn't.
The other thing is, I would like to know, I would have hoped
a lot of parents don't have conversations with
I would
their
have
children
hoped that I would have at least discussed with her what isn't okay and what makes things okay. And if we haven't, we have to have that discussion.
Haven't. I'm telling you haven't.
So that's something we have to have right away, because
what is it? What is it?
Things are okay if Allah has said.
She says I'm okay.
Right. Yeah, your being okay has to come from something, and we have to talk about how our okayness and what we're okay with can't come from our feelings, has to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I think that's kind of essential.
Sure, she's 11 years old.
Yes.
Don't forget. But would you allow
She
Jane...
should learn that at 5.
Sure, I get that, but I'm saying if she doesn't. And there are a lot of scenarios where parents don't talk to their children 11, 12 about homosexuality. They say, oh, I'm just a bit, what is this? You'll be very surprised, right, to find out. So, would you allow Jane to come back to your house? Can I get, can I see a show of hands? I love this question. It creates so much difference in opinions. How many of you would allow Jane, after you know this, Jane to come to your house again and play with Sumaya and do homework? How many will allow Jane to come back? Really? You're way higher? Let me see. Allow. How many will allow Jane to come back? Jane. One. Jane is the child, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like a third of you. How many would not? There's a lot of people who don't care. Okay. No, because Jane wants to, now you know that her parents are homosexual. I keep on doing this, by the way, but you know what I mean. Her parents are homosexual, yes? Would you allow Jane to come and play with your daughter again? By the way, I said this in London once. Someone he said he exactly had the same scenario. So it does happen. Okay?
I want to make one more point.
Sorry?
I would make one more point if I could.
No, it depends on nothing. Would you allow Jane to come back or not?
Okay, if I could just add one more point.
Yeah.
I think the fundamental issue for me, in addition to the fact that obviously we have an issue with who our friends are, but I think the fundamental issue with me is building with my child, it's a little bit late at this point, but building with her from now on, what things in Islam and in our worldview we think are okay and how we get to that determination. Because if it's something other than what Allah wants from us, if it's they told me at school or my friend said or I have this sense or my heart says, that to me is the real thing.
Yeah, but Jane, what's wrong with Jane? Would you allow Jane to come?
That's conditional for me. If Jane, I think I could actually help her. She's barely baligh. She just became baligh 2 years ago. So I'd want to see if there's some help my child can provide for her. But in this scenario, my child is a little bit off herself. So I'd want to get her help before I bring Jane into the
would you allow Jane to come?
Not in this scenario. But I could see one where we do it.
So if Zainab Sumaya says, next week we're doing homework together, what would you tell?
We're going to need to think through where you do it, if we do it in another place, if I'm there with you, and kind of slowly, not cold turkey, but cut out Jane from the picture.
Who said, you said, would you allow Jane to come?
I would, because I think the problem isn't Jane herself. The problem is the situation, right? Like Jane's parents are the one who are doing this homosexual act, right? Now my child has already been exposed to this scenario, right? So getting that idea out of their head is not gonna happen, right? So now what I have to do is explain to them what this is and understand what they mean when they say they're okay with it, right? Because at an 11-year-old, they're not really gonna have an understanding of how wrong it is and what that entails, right? So maybe they don't have an understanding of what actually Islam is. And that's something that I need to kind of look into and have a clear discussion with. But Jane in itself is not going to, getting her out of the picture is not going to. It's me reacting harshly and saying now that this person, this family has done a wrong act and we are completely against them, right? That's not what I want to teach my kids, because now in life, we live in a Western culture, we're going to be exposed to haram things, we're going to see it. And so me showing her what is okay and what's right in Islam is also just explaining and being okay with the people, because Jane is not, she's just a victim. She's just there, right?
Yeah, but your daughter, she's starting to normalize it. The acts that she doesn't have a mum.
Yeah.
Jane doesn't have a mum.
Yeah, but Sumaya doesn't know. I mean,
no, but Sumaya is a bit surprised, but she's normalizing that Jane doesn't have a mum. So it's okay for Jane not to have a mum.
Yeah, because Sumaya doesn't know. She doesn't understand.
So how would you react to this? Would you sit down with Sumaya and explain the situation?
Yeah, I would sit down and I'd be like, yeah, they don't have it. That's the reality. I mean, that's their situation. But that's not okay. I mean, this is not what Islam shows. It's not acceptable, but that's something that they do.
So what if she goes back and you tell her this? She goes back to school and says, my mom said it's not okay for her not to have a mom.
No, it's not something that we do, but that's something that they do. And in Islam, it's not okay, but we're still friendly towards them.
Okay, so you'll be friends. You'll still be.
I would let her be friends with Jane.
So you'll be, yeah, okay. So next question is, do you mind? Yeah, sorry. Next question is, would you allow, guys, would you allow Jason and Craig, is it Jason and Craig? Will you allow Jason? So Jason and Craig say, oh, okay, Sumaya, they find you in school, pick up time, and they say, hi, I don't want to do it the way they do it, but hi, so hi, and would you, we heard that Jane, oh hi Jane, is this your friend Sumaya? And he said, yeah, that's my friend Sumaya. He said, oh, is it okay if we come to your house and we just have some, introduce ourselves? Can we come on Tuesday evening or Saturday evening? Is that okay? How many of you will say yes? One. Please explain. So you will allow Jason and Craig for them to come to your house?
Okay, so let me just explain something. It's not like I will let them come to my house.
No, they want to come and visit you.
I know. So there is alternatives. We could meet at somewhere. You know what I mean? If it's necessarily. Now, we're talking only this scenario. Now, I've never been at this scenario, alhamdulillah, not yet. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be facing this in the upcoming years.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? I definitely can kind of imagine, how many people could be facing this situation and how would they think about it.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about it statistically, 10 years ago, we only had probably 1 or 2% parents in high school were homosexual. Right now, over 20, 30%. Now, this
and
data...
it's going up.
It's going up even more.
And more having surrogate children, if they're men, they're having more surrogate children, so you'll see more and more of them in schools now.
So the approach could vary so much. Now, I said yes for one reason.
This scenario.
Yeah.
You said yes.
Now,
so you will allow Jason
nobody
and Craig.
has answered yet. What if Jane's parents want to come to visit you?
So you said yes.
Yeah, I said yes. For now, a lot of people, again,
everyone's judging
I'm
you,
talking hypothetically. Okay, let's put it this way. I'm talking hypothetically. There's a lot goes into this question, and how you would answer this. But clearly speaking, right now, I would say yes, because I want to know, how influencer they are. I want to learn, how did this happen? Let's put it this way.
What the Jason Craig, how they met?
Yeah, how are they influential to my...
Why would you care about Jason and Craig? They just...
No.
They're gay.
No. What I'm saying is, there's a lot of people right now, when they face this kind of situation, you cannot just cut it off, obviously. Cutting it off, it could happen again at different age. You know what I mean? So if it's not 11, could happen at 12. If it's not this school, if it's not at school, it could be at work. Okay. So it's kind of,
But regarding, sorry to interrupt you, regarding this situation, so they see you in school and they say, hi, you know, all that, and then is it okay if, you know, we stop by on Saturday evening, you know, we just want to meet you guys because our daughter is, you know, she always talks about Sumaya at home, and we thought we'll check you guys out. Is it okay, Saturday 8 p.m.?
All right, so not
What would you say then? What would you say then?
Hypothetically, I'm not going to invite him.
No, what would you tell me now? God forbid.
No,
I am Jason.
I'll be like.
I am Jason. Okay, and I'm picking up Jane. And I would say, I'm coming to visit your house. What would you say?
Okay, so I would say that let's meet, you know, like as in a parent, and let's meet, like, you know, at a park, for example. You know what I mean?
Oh no, but okay.
Then,
so you, not for me to come to your house.
No, not the house.
Oh, you don't want them to come to my house.
So
you've changed.
them. Not the house.
Not the
I
house.
said meet, but not the house.
Oh, so you don't mind meeting them, but not in your house. Why not in your house?
I mean, I would say probably come up with an excuse, you know.
No, but I'm asking you, why is it not in your house?
I'm not comfortable with it.
You're not comfortable with
it?
Because they're gay.
Yeah, that's.
Yes, and then we'll hear the same. Yes.
By the way, this is Farouk's wife.
Assalamu alaikum. Your scenarios put us in these parenting quandaries, but I feel like I wouldn't have a child coming over my house, nor would my child be going over to someone else's house if I didn't know their parents. I don't send my children to school, and if I did send them to school, I would send them to an Islamic school, so I wouldn't worry about them normalizing LGBTQ relationships.
Sure, that's I respect that, but I'm giving you scenarios that are very real. So the people out there are sending their children. They're not really, she's 7-year-old.
I mean,
she's 11-year-old.
I understand sending them to school, but I don't understand having people to your home, children to your home, and your child at someone else's home who you don't know. Like Muslim parents, no parent should do that, whether they're Muslim or not. And then as far as sending your children to school where these behaviors are normalized, at some point we have to start making a decision, because I know a lot of Muslims say, oh, if I send my kid to Muslim school, just caveat, I am a director, academic director at a Muslim school. But sometimes people say if we send our children to Muslim school, they won't get the academics. And we have to start kind of making decisions about what's more important and prioritizing. Because we can go into Muslim schools and fortify the academics, but we cannot go into public schools and change their moralities. So, but back to that, if you do have to send your children to public school, they shouldn't be sent there without some caveats, right? When I send my children to play soccer, I'm like, this person is an expert at soccer. He's going to teach you how to play soccer, nothing else. It doesn't give you any advice about morality.
Yeah, but this is government rules now. The government laws.
No, I get it.
Government laws is you've got to teach them about homosexuality.
No, but when you send your child to school, you don't imbue their teachers with ultimate power. You say your teacher can teach you math, your teacher can teach you science.
But
your teacher cannot teach you.
They have to speak about this.
No, they do speak to it, but you don't accept it. You don't accept them as experts. They're only experts in the fields they have degrees in. They're not experts in your morality.
Sure,
so
but your child doesn't
morality.
distinguish between these. Your child goes there, you're the teacher, you teach math, you teach science and stuff, but it says that, look, you got to respect everyone. You know, there are people who don't have moms, that's okay.
Absolutely.
They're homosexual, they're, things like that, they're okay, and things like that.
All human beings are okay. And I think we should teach our children that as well. Whether they're homosexual or not. What I'm saying is when I send my children into a learning environment where I'm not, even if it's Sunday school, where I'm not the teacher and I'm not teaching them, I don't send them with the directive that they are accepting everything that's coming from that person. We get home, we debrief, we talk about what they learned, we talk about what Allah says. We set up a scenario where they are critical thinkers and they ask questions and they're not just accepting everything that is given to them by the person standing in front of the classroom. And so this is like a whole worldview and systematic way that you have to raise your children. You can't just hop on the scene when they're 11 years old and start talking about these things.
No, you're absolutely right.
You distinguish between the sin and the human being.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is the right parenting approach. okay? In terms of when they come back, you debrief, you just go through things and stuff like that. But the real world out there is that a lot of parents are, they're tired, they're very much, they just want to get on with life. They, sometimes both parents, they work, pressures of the environment, pressures of financial pressures, etc. They just want them to do their homework and make sure that they go to sleep and things like that. They don't have much time for debrief, much time for all these things. I know that this is what you do, but I'm talking about a lot of parents out there that really just want the day to go on because they're tired and they're frustrated, and their kids, they've got lots of things they got to wash, they got to do your homework, you got to do all these things, okay? So we're trying to put scenarios out there. And remember, guys, I'm here not to scare you, but I'm here to tell you what's coming. And it's going to hit you hard, very hard. And even as much as you try to protect your child from all the stuff that is going on, they know better than you do. Even if you homeschool them, by the way. They know better than you do about what's actually going on out there. So it's important that we have a strategy. We have a strategy to talk about all these things, the LGBT stuff and stuff like that. And so I've run out of time, unfortunately. So I'm gonna.
We're at overtime.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just. If you want to take a picture of this scenario, anyone wants. This is about transgender. This is a real scenario, by the way. It's a real life scenario. She has a friend, Maria, who's about to undergo surgery to change her gender. And Zainab is fine with all this, and so it's about a scenario of what would you do with this. So it's just do. Sorry, you need it back?
Yeah, go back. Some people are taking pictures.
Nothing showing.
You did? Okay.
Well, what am I doing, man? Oh, here you go. So finish.
I think Sister Abida had something to say. If you have time.
Sorry.
Sister Abida.
Let me just finish, and then we can, because then you don't say I'm the one who delayed things. It's important, look, all of these are difficult, fluid situations. Okay, so I don't have the right answer here, but they're fluid. But it's important we have a conversation about them. You see, now we've started this conversation. When I was in New Jersey, we started the conversation, and people were like, oh, okay, I don't think there's been a lot of conversations about these things, and we've just got to talk about it. And we help each other. Like, for example, now the sister at the back, she gave us some hints. We all help each other. I'm not here to tell you what you should do, but I'm here to start the conversation. But I'm here also to give you some suggestions. You've got to plant the seeds early, okay? Talk about sexuality. The problem is, and let me be very blunt here because I'm not here to do mujamalat. We don't like to talk about sex in general as parents. We don't talk about sex. And so we leave it, I'm talking about general sex, right? We don't talk about that. We don't talk about what's related to sex as well. We don't talk about relationships, girls, boys. We don't talk about the physical body of a woman, the physical body of a man. What is there to touch and what you shouldn't touch, and all these stuff. I'm sorry, I'm going to say these words because I did say age restriction, right? Masturbation. We don't talk about masturbation. We don't talk about pornography. We don't talk about or everything that's surrounded with the issue of sex, because it's taboo. But it's not a taboo topic in Islam, by the way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in the Quran. He mentions sex in the Quran. It's because it's a natural thing. We've got to start talking to, we have to have a conversation in a very respectful, adult way. Like how in this particular environment, I'm happy to talk about this in this respectful environment, not to joke about it and make a mockery out of it. That's not nice, okay? But respectable environment, and we start to talk about everything that is associated with sex. We talk about masturbation, we talk about pornography, we talk about homosexuality, we talk about actually sex itself, and what actually goes around with that, and what does it involve, and what age should it happen, and etc., etc. So opening that topic is a bit uncomfortable for us. It's a taboo, but it must be done. It must be done so that we can make sure we the world. By the way, our kids talk about sex everywhere. They talk about sex at school. Oh, he fancies her, she fancies him. Oh, talk about, these things. They happen, but when they come to home, they don't talk about this. Oh, I'm a bit, why should I talk about my... And then they start discovering themselves when they're teenagers. They start discovering themselves. And they don't know what's halal, what's haram, and etc. So we're there to guide them. Let's break that barrier. It's important to break that barrier. So speak to them from a young age, plant that seed, and have open, natural conversations. You know what natural conversation means? It doesn't mean you have a meeting, but natural conversations means like, over a dinner table. Last time I did it, we talked about LGBT in a dinner table. My kids know everything. Do you know what Q stands for? That's what some people think. Some people might define it as queer, but it's questions. Yeah, go Google it. Yeah, LGBTQ plus is everything. But Q is about questions. Those people who question, and they have their identity. Their identity is to question. They question things. Okay? Question their identity, question their sexuality. They don't know. They don't know. They can be non-binary. Sometimes these non-binary people, they don't know whether they're male or female. They wakes up and he's a male, wakes up he's a female. He doesn't know, right? And the people who just question, I don't know, whatever. Don't presume that your child does not. Ask them what they know already. They know a lot of things. So ask them what they know. Don't start to teach them and they know all these things. And they're laughing in the background. I know all these things. Now you've started to talk to me about them, right? And so when they have these things, start to approach this particular topic in the best possible way. Start to talk about sexuality. Start to talk about what Islam really says about sexuality, what Islam talks about the male and female, right? And start to talk about the importance of, I know, Musa is more interesting than me. Okay? As the sister said, debrief. Really important you debrief. And fathers, you gotta get involved in your children's. Once I spoke to a father, he says he doesn't even know the name of the school of his child. Yeah, some they don't. They just go to work, come back, they travel a lot and things like that. What's the name of my school's child? I can't remember. There are parents out there. Don't, inshallah, if you're really in touch, that's amazing. But I'm talking mostly about the fathers. Debrief. Don't just leave it to the mothers. Debrief about what happened. Come and tell me what happened today at school. Do you actually know that your children have gone through homosexuality, LGBT classes? Do you know that? They have gone through this. I'm talking about to the fathers. Do you know? Have you asked them? Do you know about that? They have gone through this. But have you spoken to them? What did they teach you? And so being proactive rather than reactive is a must now. And the storm is coming. Trust me, the storm is coming. As the brother said, the storm is coming, and we're going to have homosexuality, LGBT flags, and everything is normalized. And what's important is we must not normalize this in our household. There's only so much you can do, by the way. But in your household, you should not normalize this because it's haram and it's one of the kaba'ir, one of the biggest sins. And we do not normalize it. We do not accept in whatsoever. And I've heard discussions, some people, unfortunately, Muslims, say, it's fine, this is the age No, we stand very firm that we are against this act. This act is haram, and we stand against it. But if people want to do whatever they do, let them do whatever they do. We can't influence what they want to do. But for us, we must make a strong understanding and teach our children that this act is haram. And always try to have these open, natural conversations. Don't make it too formal, okay? But important you plant that seed. If you haven't spoken to your children, start talking to them. But very, very sort of, casually and informally. What do you know about LGBT? What is this LGBT? Have you heard of it? Don't be scared. But more in general, okay? More in general, the mothers speak to your daughters about everything to do with sex. And the fathers, you should also speak to your sons about it. That's very important. The fathers don't speak to your daughters and vice versa. Everyone has a role, okay? But let's break that sort of obstacle. And generally, and I think this is contributing to it. The reason why we don't, homosexuality is because we don't talk about sex in general. Okay? And it's contributing to the thing. And they might say, I don't want to talk about it and things like that. But make it informal. Make it things like it's a chat thing. And then if they feel a bit uncomfortable, don't talk about it and then come back to it some other day. I'm really sorry I've taken 15 minutes over time. My apologies for, I didn't mean to joke a lot, and if anyone is offended here, please forgive me. I'm not here to offend anyone. We're all on a journey. And my final thing is to say, we can only have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is with us, He's looking after us, but He wants us to see if we do the, inshallah, act, وَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't burden you more than how much you can take, but He will see how much you will do. Okay, not like sit down and say, yeah, let Allah won't burden me and think. No, He wants to see you act. And we can only do our best. As we said at the start, and we'll end with this, that your children are not yours. You're expected to give them, like Luqman, like a lot of the other noble people and Ahlul Bayt and the Prophet. They used to give advice and they try to do their best in terms of tarbiyah. And especially with these times, very difficult times, social media, LGBT, lots of problems going on in society and drugs and things like that. We can only, and people, the world out there, the movies are taking you away from God. And sometimes it's an innocent movie, but it's actually ungodly movie. Okay, and taking you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are lots of challenges. Try your best, but don't think that, don't be sad and disappointed and angry and things like that if things are going bad. You just try your best, take advice, speak about these very important topics, have a conversation, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all, inshaAllah, guidance. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I'm sorry it's very late. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala.
Thank you, Dr. Hilli. It was a great workshop. For those of you that are interested, tomorrow Dr. Hilli is doing another workshop in Idara Jafari at 1 p.m. The topic is concentrate in your prayer workshop. He's actually written a book about it, 2 books about it, and the first book will be one book, 2 editions. One will be available for purchase tomorrow. So those of you that are interested, 1 p.m. at Idara Jafari. I just wanted to go ahead and let everyone know. Other than that, appreciate you coming in all the way from London and staying with us, and I hope this is not your last trip. So you always have a home here. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.